Over the next 10 years, Sharjah is likely to be recognized even more as a global example of sustainable urbanization, cultural preservation and economic diversity.
A free trade agreement signed by different countries, and it gives you the advantage of doing free trade agreements in terms of exporting and importing, and it gives you an exemptions of custom duties.
Something that I know I have seen 3 years back in a high-end store in San Francisco, but if they have this thinking and they can advance it, I think we are in the right direction into putting this equation of innovation.
But I think like one of the most important things I've seen like in the US is basically human augmentation. I think the statistics is like that like 65% of current jobs will be augmented by 2030, which means not replaced, but AI will be used for smaller tasks and like for streamlining like the sort of really lengthy processes and so on.
So we've heard a little bit already about how the Emirate of Sharjah is emerging and has become a key investment destination driven by its diversified economy, which spans manufacturing, healthcare, technology, and many other sectors. The location is strategic and offers access to global markets. It's complemented by robust infrastructure development and a favorable regulatory environment. Over the next 10 years, Sharjah is likely to be recognized even more as a global example of sustainable urbanization, cultural preservation and economic diversity. And there's plenty of potential, and we'll talk about that over the coming session. Family offices are providing access to high growth startups. Institutional investors are bringing structure and expertise. And collaboration between these investors is already helping to diversify portfolios. We're going to focus, to begin with at least, on 3 broad areas covering healthcare, covering the digital ecosystem and renewables, but we'll also explore other areas as they emerge. But before we do that, I'd very much like to introduce in turn the speakers that we have here today, and then ask them perhaps to say a few words to say what their interests and focus is. But we'll start with Dennis. This is in no particular order, no favoritism. Dennis is the founder and chief executive of Performatory. He's also an AI advisor to the UAE government. He's a Cambridge-educated expert in data analytics and applied AI. And he's spent much of his time over recent years working towards making sure that the UAE is the world's leading AI hub. He's also founded a number of different companies. Performatory was the first to apply AI to company management and data monetization. And also Wadi AI, which is the UAE's first applied AI accelerator. Now that's the interesting part. Where he used to be, he was head of budget at Google, and also head of business integrity at Facebook, which is obviously a very interesting theme following the recent elections that we've had, where he was leading efforts to clean up the platform of misinformation. And then in the middle, Marwan Alicia is the Director of Investment Promotion and Support at the Sharjah FDI office, which is the Invest in Sharjah agency of the Sharjah government, and helping the investment process into Sharjah by developing these collaborations, developing these linkages between public and private sector. Marwan, I'm sure he will forgive me saying he's a bit of a veteran in this space and in the Sharjah FDI office, having been there for a good 10 years and seen this process through. working previously to that at the Emirates Integrated Telecommunications Company in Dubai and the Invest Bank. And we have Salim Al-Shami, who is the Director of Government Relations and Digital Transformation at the Sharjah Research, Technology and Investment Park, which is the free zone that aims to develop an innovation ecosystem promoting research and development and supporting enterprise activities through the convergence of industry, government and academia. Salim has extensive leadership experience in government services development, AI, digital transformation and ICT. He's played a critical role in advancing public service innovation in the UAE. He's also a graduate of the American University of Sharjah and holds a Bachelor's of Science in Computing and Engineering. The chair that we've left empty is for Dr. Mohammed, who unfortunately at the very last minute has been held up with meetings at the university, so he sends his apologies. Marwan, if we go with you and back in reverse order, if you'd just like to maybe say a few words to develop on your areas of focus and introduce yourself, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, thank you, Edward. First of all, I would like to thank Swifi for choosing Sharjah this year in your roadshow in the Emirate of Sharjah. Also, I would like to thank Sharjah Asset Management to give us the opportunity today to be part of this great event. So my name is Marwan Al-Achla. I'm the Director of Investment Promotion at the Sharjah LDI office, Invest in Sharjah. So who is Invest in Sharjah? We are the investment promotion arm of the Emirate of Sharjah. We act as a concierge for all investors, either current investors or investors who would like to explore the market here in the Emirate of Sharjah. We facilitate, we identify investment opportunities, and we facilitate your investment. So we act as a one-man show for everything you require in order to start your business in the Emirate of Sharjah and continue and growth. What we do is we have identified different sectors to focus on, and we have all the details that are related to these sectors. So part of the areas that we focus on for sure is innovation. We also look after the advanced manufacturing, health and well-being, agri-food and technology, sustainability, human capital and innovation, and also renewable energy. So these are the areas that we look after, and maybe later on I will talk about what are the services that we could focus on. As I mentioned, we identify opportunities, we give advisory services, step-by-step guidance, and aftercare services. And we created an ecosystem for all investments where we can do consultancy, and we do the aftercare services for sure. We thought that the aftercare services are more important elements in order to start in your journey in Sharjah and go through the whole process of setting up your company. We have created a different of initiatives. One of them is a one-stop shop called Sharjah Investor Services Center Saeed, where we gathered all government services, either local government services or federal government services, and also we added private services such as banking, tax consultancies, spaces. We help you with the whole process of setting up your business, whether it is a small office, a manufacturing, or whatever. So neglecting what the size of your investment, we can do it in the same place. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marwan. And perhaps if we could then hand over to Salim to maybe introduce yourself and say a few words, please.
Thank you, Edward. Thank you so much. And pleasure to be part of this first collaboration. Thanking Sam, thanking Sophie for giving us this opportunity. I heard in the opening, how did it start? how did this collaboration start, and I'm sure same time in 2026 we are going to be seeing a way bigger engagement, an event having sustainability for such collaboration. My name is Salim Shami. I'm the Director of Government Relations and Digital Transformation at the Sharjah Research Technology and Innovation Park. Have been in multiple places in between private sector and federal government. What I see is a huge potential in Sharjah in terms of partnership between government and private sector, and I see a potential of an accelerated advancement in how things are happening. You mentioned, Edward, in your intro that you have an expectation in 10 years to see a different positioning for Sharjah. I think the expectation leadership puts is way less than this and much faster. So I'm sure there's always going to be differences and leaps in how things are happening. So just a quick intro, and I think during the discussion we'll add up more about what the park is doing and so on.
Thank you. Dennis, over to you.
Hi, my name is Dennis. For the last 4 to 5 years, I've been in Silicon Valley, working with C-level executives of big companies and mid-sized companies, helping them take internal data and monetize it. Basically apply AI and turn it into insights. And I've come to the UAE, I came to the UAE in August last year, and I have 2 big missions. So the first mission is to help the government and the organizations in the UAE to monetize data. I think that's a big advantage of the UAE, that the UAE has been collecting a lot of data and now it's time to put it to use. And the second big mission, which I'm really excited about, is essentially building the world's first AI city. That's my mission, but the first step for that is to build the UAE's first applied AI accelerator. The reason for that is because obviously AI is a big trend, like it's not you can't deny that. But the question is right now in Silicon Valley and across the world is how do you make use of it, how do you monetize it? So that's why I'm really humbled to speak here. Thank you so much for inviting me, because I think Sharjah has a huge potential, the UAE as well. And I think there's a lot that is coming to this country like in a good term. So like my mission is to help accelerate that. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much to all of you. I think before we go into some of the sector-specific areas, maybe just to look in more general terms. Marwan, to start with you, you mentioned Saeed, the Sharjah Investor Service Centre. Could you elaborate a little bit, perhaps, and tell us how is the centre in real terms, in sort of tangible terms, changing the business setup process in Sharjah? Are there any special advantages that it offers investors, for example, that are looking into this sort of area of innovation? Are there obstacles that have been smoothed out? What are the initiatives in your mind that are really helping accelerate this process?
So, Edward, part of our role is attraction of investments, and how we do it is we do a lot of activities in terms of investment promotion to a lot of events. We talk about the investment opportunities in the Sharjah and what can investors expect from us. So we thought of the most important part is the investment support part. It is not about only promotion, it is about the support part is very important in this journey. Then in 2019 we created this initiative, which is Sharjah Investor Services Center. As a one-stop shop, we gathered more than 10 government entities from local to federal to private sectors. We got all of the authorities or the entities who are involved in the process of establishing or getting your new trade license and the Emirate of Sharjah. So we start with you in applying for your trade name, into getting approvals from different entities, from municipality, from civil defense, from whoever, into creating your memorandum of association, and then going through the visa process, work permits, and later the bank account. So we gathered all of these entities in one place to create an experience for investor and take out the hassle from them. So we handle the whole process from A to Z. We have a team who have the experience, and they know the process and everything related to the government services.
So it really is a one-stop shop, as you call it. I think that's a deeply practical approach. Are there any particular countries, jurisdictions that you're seeing, more interest in now, or is it a global approach and not one specific area?
So talking about our focus in terms of countries, we for sure look after the whole world and try to attract as much as we can from different countries. But we always align our strategy in focusing on countries into the federal strategy. In the past few years, the federal government of the UAE has created initiatives called the Comprehensive Economic Agreements, the CEPA agreements. We started these agreements with India for sure, which is one of our biggest partners, and now we have more than I think 10 agreements has been signed. So just to give you a brief about the CEPA agreement. The CEPA agreement is a free trade agreement signed by different countries, and it gives you the advantage of doing free trade agreements in terms of exporting and importing, and it gives you an exemptions of custom duties. So we take the advantage of the CEPA agreements where we go to these countries that we have signed a CEPA agreement with and try to attract investments into the Emirate of Sharjah.
Thank you. It certainly seems to be working, I think. Dennis, looking a little bit at your work in developing the UAE, including Sharjah, of course, particularly from the startup or the AI accelerator perspective, are there any particular areas of the economy that you feel are receiving, more attention from these startups? Are there particular growth sectors? And do these, in your experience, looking outside of the UAE, mirror, trends elsewhere, maybe in the US?
I definitely think that monetizing data is the key trend which I'm hearing right now, because obviously, when you realize you need AI, suddenly you start thinking, is my data correct? Is it safe? How do I structure it in the right way? And I think Sharjah is in a great position. That's my personal experience, because there's a lot of data, and this data can be we can start moving towards applying the data to real life use cases. And I think this is the advantage of Sharjah, because as far as I understand, Sharjah has 45% of the manufacturing, maybe a little bit less. It depends, because obviously Kizad is growing. But I think applied AI is a really big trend which can help Sharjah accelerate the growth of technology, attract the talent, and so on. I think, in my experience, and I think this is the biggest thing that needs to happen in the next few years, is that obviously, we all know that the government has committed to become the #1 AI hub in the world, the federal government, and obviously the government of Sharjah as well. But right now, and this is my analysis, is that the UAE has only access to less than 1% of the world's AI talent. So that leads to the basically next question, how do you increase that talent to become the #1 hub in the world? And there are two things you can do. One is develop the talent internally, and I think Sharjah is really well positioned with the universities, with the young population, with all the things like Shira, for example, and so on. And then the other thing is like to bring talent from abroad, because there is people who are already there, like they have the expertise, and that's my job. Like, so that's what I'm trying to do. So I definitely think advanced manufacturing, autonomous vehicles, and like all the application of applied AI is the trend which I'm seeing here. And I think the US maybe is like a few steps ahead in this. But unlike the UAE, the US found itself in a very bad spot in terms of data. Like the data was very dirty, not clean, not ready like to be applied AI. So they had to take a step back. Whereas in my experience, the UAE is well positioned like from the very beginning. And I think the future holds like great things like with data and with applied AI.
Thank you very much. And of course, the conversations that we had yesterday in Abu Dhabi with a series of CIOs and other investors, and we asked them at the end what keeps them awake at night, and one of those issues was around data security. So there's perhaps some confidence to be given there. If we can continue a little bit with the technology thread, the UAE government, of course, is actively integrating AI into public services in particular. We're looking at smart cities, predictive analytics that can underpin and support innovation in policy making as well, which obviously affects the areas that we're working on. But maybe for Salim, if you could shed a little bit of light and maybe give some examples on how the UAE government is leveraging AI, particularly to enhance public services, urban infrastructure, for example, and also to think about what sort of specific opportunities this is actively creating for investors. And then maybe, if I'm allowed to add a second question onto that, what let's say innovation originating from Sharjah is actually underpinning that on a national level? That would be very interesting.
Sure. I like to talk about the story of AI and how it evolved to what it is today in the UAE. So I remember in 2017, the UAE has appointed an AI minister, His Excellency Umar Al-Ulama. And they was close to the federal government and worked in the Prime Minister office. I have been getting lots of questions and hearing a lot of noise in the background saying, why do we need an AI minister? Do we need a minister for a technology? However, the UAE government have seen this coming. It's a global trend. It is something that we don't want to know about, we want to lead. So His Excellency, the AI Minister, was mandated to submit a plan within 100 days to His Highness the Prime Minister. And within that plan, he submitted a strategy for how would UAE adapt the artificial intelligence. Talking about various things. He started by capacity building. And when I say capacity building, it was across the tiers. So there were summer camps for students, and at the same time, there were induction programs that goes up to the minister's level to make sure that they have the right understanding for what AI is and what a regular automation is. And from then, so many initiatives have come into the picture, putting guidelines for AI, how do we ethically utilize it, how do we empower people, how do we employ people in AI. And recently, and by the end of 2024, we have seen two major outcomes for the AI in UAE. One of it was the AI award for government services, and I will give an example of, for example, Ministry of Foreign Affairs have been awarded for their smart embassy, which they launched in Korea. And it is an embassy with no people, with no employees. You can get everything by interacting with avatars, by utilizing computer vision. And who came second, if I'm not mistaken, was DP World. They had a computer vision solution that can detect their employees whether they are wearing their safety kit or not. Okay, and imagine in such a massive industry how much this is going to help and utilize. The second announcement or the second outcome was appointing chief AI officers in every entity. Their mandate, their role is to create that sort of alignment, brainstorm how can they utilize AI, work in consistency, and make sure that they exchange experiences, experiment, solutions that help them within this stream. I remember also a video that went viral for the visit of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the President of UAE, to the States. First of all, he had very strategic meetings with NVIDIA, with Google, with Microsoft, and then post that he had a gathering with students, UAE students studying in the States. And I remember in that video, he was asking them and pointing them to know more about computer vision, generative AI, nanotechnology. And when you expect a leader not focusing only on politics, but focusing also in technology and AI, you see how this is important to the country. Yesterday I was checking the snippets from one of the panel discussions that's happening right now in Davos, in World Economic Forum. His Excellency Khaldun Mubarak, he stated that Stanford did a survey and they announced the results in Q4 of 2024, and UAE was ranked 5th globally in terms of investment in AI. So this shows it's a big deal, it's very important strategically in the UAE. And if we talk about Sharjah and how it's contributing to that, we see an adoption of AI, we see an adoption to the programs, like for example, AI for Good program with Microsoft, which is happening as a nationwide, and so many other programs. If we zoom a little bit in the Sharjah Research, Technology and Innovation Park, there are so many examples of industries and companies utilizing AI. One of them was an investor and innovator who created a supercomputing facility in the park, hosted, fully secured in the park, H100 for whoever knows about AI and its hardware and so on. It's a very strong facility, and it ticked the box for any agency with a decision maker worrying about where is my data. And you mentioned this about data security and what makes everyone awake at night. And we have seen a lot of engagement from government entities in what he has built, like a government-wide ChatGPT using his internal LLMs and so on. So we see that so many, and what he did also, he offered this to students to do their capstone projects. And when I was presented with some of the ideas, one of the ideas was basically applying cameras and computer vision in retail store in order to detect when is it needed to add more items in a specific shelf, so it's running out of that, and also analyze where people spend time, how was their behavior. And when something like this comes from university students, for something that I know I have seen 3 years back in a high-end store in San Francisco, but if they have this thinking and they can advance it, I think we are in the right direction into putting this equation of innovation, utilizing AI.
And I suppose that's fascinating, isn't it? And it's a direct product of the role that Sharjah specifically has had in education in the upstream development of thinking about things in different ways and promoting innovation. I mean, we have all sorts of questions that we could have asked Dr. Mohammed had he been here about that and the role of the university. But I think to have those examples, and of course it's been an issue, hasn't it, in the UAE over many years about making sure that those future generations are able to be, you know, not activating and acting on things in the future, but actually doing it now. Which of course is absolutely the right way to do it. Maybe to pick up on that point about the US and big business and maybe tap into a little bit of Dennis's experience. Obviously you've been working with the UAE government in the UAE and bringing this experience from these names such as Google and Facebook and others and how they're applying to different sectors. How do you see the Emirates as actually leading in certain areas, or are they learning from San Francisco? Are they learning from big tech in the US, or actually have things changed, which seems to be the case in recent years?
I think this is what I really love about the UAE, is that the UAE has its own sort of mindset, like it has its own vision. So there is like a lot to learn from each other, like in terms of knowledge exchange. But I think, and this is just my opinion, obviously, like, you know, so I'm sharing like what I think, but I think historically, like as a historian as well, like I have another degree in history, I think there have been moments in history, like, and technologies which emerged, which gave sort of a big push to the redistribution of power, like sort of the balance of power in the world, like, you know, the invention of gunpowder, iron, shipbuilding, the Industrial Revolution, the atomic bomb, like all those things. And I think AI right now is having the potential to do that. So I think the fact that the EU is fifth in terms of investment in AI, I think maybe it will take even like a better position like in the future. But I think, you know, being a rather small country in comparison to the US and having this potential, so like if whoever wins the AI race will basically have a different position in the balance of power. So my experience like of the US in the last few years has been, how to say this, like, you know, when I came here, and I'll give you an example, when I came here and I had a conversation with a woman like who was a potential buyer of my product, of performance, of analytics. And when I finished my pitch, and basically she said, like, you know, when can we start? And in the US, it doesn't happen like that. Like after you do your pitch, like you have like 50 questions, like why not? Like, you know, there is this roadblock, there is that roadblock, there is like a huge chain of command, like where you have to go through approvals. I can't say like it's very easy here right now, but I think that's a huge tailwind for companies like mine, for example. And I think what we can do, like we can learn from the entrepreneurs, because obviously the US has done one great thing. It's a country for expats. It's a country for people for immigrants who start businesses. Like all these businesses, like big tech, have been started by immigrants. So I think the UAE has done like an amazing job in terms of creating the infrastructure for attracting entrepreneurs. But there is still a little bit more job to do, because a lot of entrepreneurs come to me and they say, you know, like, can I come to the UAE? I was like, you know, what happened? They're like, we can't raise money in the US. We tried raising money in Europe. We went somewhere else. And now we're considering the UAE. So I don't want that to happen. I want the UAE to be like on the same spot as sort of number one choice for the world. So I think like once we do that, the UAE will have a chance to be like number one in the world. And that's why I'm here, basically.
That's right. And are we able to predict, if we look into the crystal ball, when the UAE will move from fifth spot up to the top? Feel free not to answer that question.
Soon enough.
Very good, yeah.
Well, I'm sure there are so many plans in every competitiveness index for UAE. How are we climbing the ladder? Making sure that we do leaps, we do faster steps. As I said, I believe it's going to be soon enough. I have seen in one of the programs I attended the dollar sign for how much being spent by the US and China, both of them. It's a huge money, but I think UAE is getting closer in that competition.
and it's already a very rapidly changing part of it, isn't it? Marwan, can I maybe ask you a question? You know, your one-stop shop and the way that you're speaking to different types of investors. What can investors of different types actually expect? You know, are the opportunities more around direct investments, or does it go through particular vehicles, private equity funds, and so on? What have you seen in your experience as to how different types of investors can enter Sharjah in particular?
So maybe if I can talk about the ecosystem and how it works in the Emirate of Sharjah. We as invest in Sharjah, we look after the whole Emirate, and we look after different options. So we provide all options for investors, whether mainland, whether free zones. So at the Emirate of Sharjah, we have 6 different free zones. One of them is the research park, focusing on innovation and research, and we have other 2 free zones who are focused on commercial trading and manufacturing, Hamriya Free Zone and Sharjah International Free Zone. And we have 3 different specialized free zones, one in healthcare, one in creativity, which is Sharjah Media City, and the last in publishing. So we work very closely with all these free zones. We recently also launched one of our initiatives in adopting AI in the Emirate of Sharjah, which is the first AI-generated trade license in collaboration with one of the free zones here and in collaboration with Microsoft as well. So we can issue you an AI-generated trade license in the Emirate of Sharjah without any human interaction. You just go to our website. What do you need is only your passport copy. You upload your passport copy. You chat with our AI chatbot, and he gives you the advice. He chooses the right activity for you, and he gives you an immediate approval with your trade name and activities, and you get your trade license on spot. Part of this, I've talked about the sectors that we focus on. I see the most potential one is advanced manufacturing. As Edward mentioned, Sharjah is well known as an industrial hub. We have one of the largest industrial cities in the Emirate of Sharjah, where we have a lot of opportunities, and with also for sure taking the advantage of the infrastructure, the strategic location of Emirate of Sharjah, the access. We have the airport, international airport, the ports. We have 3 ports in the Emirate of Sharjah, serves both oceans, the Arabian Gulf and the Indian Ocean, and this gives Sharjah an advantage to be connected and accessible. So we are only the only emirate who has access to both oceans. The airport, for sure, Sharjah International Airport is a hub for air cargo and also passengers, for sure. So this is the ecosystem of Sharjah. So what is expected from us is we act as a concierge for any investor. We go through your business plan, understand more what is your expectations, what is your plan, and we start from the beginning in also collaboration with all the government department. We try to bridge you, help, support in creating, either starting your new company or even expanding your current company.
Very good. And have you seen, for example, in terms of the different types of investors, I think particularly as single family offices, they become a bit more sophisticated in their investment decision making. They look into different markets. They look into different opportunities. Have you seen an increase in one particular type of investor that's coming in and that's asking you those questions?
So talking about investments, maybe I would highlight two main areas. The first one is real estate for sure. So real estate topic is very a hot topic and is a very big hot topic in the Emirate of Sharjah. Today we are having one of the biggest real estate shows in the Emirate of Sharjah, which is Acres. A few days ago, new project has been announced by Kuwaiti developer, 3.5 billion investment in real estate. Very huge project, 6 million square feet.
Is that mostly commercial or mixed use? Or?
This is mixed use,
Yeah.
mostly residential.
Okay.
And what bought all of these investments is the new law that has been launched a few years ago, which is the freehold. So the freehold did a big change in the real estate here in the Emirate of Sharjah. In the past few years, we've seen a lot of developments happening. A lot of demand is there, which took the real estate area, the real estate sector growing. The second part is manufacturing for sure, and the industrial area advantage that we have in the Emirate of Sharjah.
Very good. And I think as Lakshmi mentioned earlier, you only have to look at the traffic outbound towards Dubai on your way into Sharjah, as we did this morning, to see just how attractive that is in this ecosystem that's being developed and attracting people not just to work here or invest here, but actually to move here and stay here and raise families and so on. And that's clearly a very important part of it. I mean, we're linking with the manufacturing side of things, I think, and moving a little bit more towards issues around, for example, renewable energy. Now, this is something that obviously family offices and institutional investors, they're increasingly aligning their interests and their allocations with, issues around sustainability, offering, attractive returns in many cases. If we look at Sharjah's commitment to sustainability, I know it's one of those big issues. It's a common thread. It's no longer peripheral like AI. It becomes mainstream and it becomes most of the areas that you're looking at. But to look at perhaps some of the renewable energy projects and how they're attracting, foreign investment. But perhaps a question for Salim, if you could elaborate a little bit on how Sharjah in particular is leveraging these free zones that Marwa mentioned to accelerate investment, specifically in green, specifically in sustainable industries.
So I think, first of all, Marwan spoke about Sharjah in general and the enablement that it has to attract investors and businesses. But when it comes, if I zoom in a bit on the Sharjah Research Park, which is a specialized free zone, attracting investors with different ideas. We have lots of people who wants to invest in an idea, not in a real estate or something. And he wants to see this idea going to production. So this is what we do. So we act as a triple helix. And when I was first introduced to this, I was like, how does this work? It's challenging. And I know it's challenging because you have lots of R&Ds happening and so on, and they don't see the light. But the way it's happening in the park is that in our equation, we connect researchers. We are surrounded by American University of Sharjah, University of Sharjah with 2,200 plus PhDs, great minds, people who are eager to try to research, but by themselves they used to do it for the goodwill, for their profile, their resumes, their CVs to say, I researched this and I discovered that. But with the partnership with the park, and with the park acting as linking as well as that industries in technology, and also corporate agencies and government, we make sure that the idea becomes a tangible idea, goes into production and commercialization of the innovation. And we have multiple examples. I can give one which is still under trial. And I will repeat again, under trial, because this is what we have been missing. Trying and see, enhancing on the go. So there is a project going on at the park right now with a company called National Paints, which is set in Sharjah, to try to come up with different types of paints for the roads that should reduce temperature when vehicles are moving. And this has an impact on EV vehicles, on combustion engine vehicles, to reduce the energy it requires. It's still in the first stages, but it is driving us to keep on trying. And this is an example out of so many other examples, with us again putting and linking all the stakeholders to make sure that we can come up with a product. Someone will ask, how does the government contribute to that? Definitely by rules, regulations, policy making. We have to be close to them to make sure that when we innovate, this can see the light and go to the market.
Yeah, no, it's excellent, and I think that, as you said, the point earlier about the role of these educational bodies in making sure these things actually happen, it's vitally important.
Just to add more, Edward, on the sustainability, and I think Sharjah has led this area long years ago, with establishing one of the biggest sustainability focused companies, which is BIA, the environmental company of the Emirate of Sharjah. And this is a PPP project that was started in the Emirate of Sharjah for the mandate of converting landfill to zero waste. They achieved this goal long time ago. They also announced the first facility, waste to energy facility, and it started operation also last year or the year before. They recently announced the first waste to hydrogen facility, also in the Emirate of Sharjah, just a few weeks ago in the Abu Dhabi Sustainable Week. And we see Sharjah a very good example. We see BIA as a very good example when it comes to sustainability. BIA now operates not only in Sharjah, they operate in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. They also expanded their operation in Saudi Arabia and Egypt. So I think Sharjah played a big role in sustainability, and we be a very good example for all companies who would like to explore this area. They are open into partnerships. They are not only in recycling, but they also into technology. They are into transportation, and they are also announcing a very nice project developments very soon.
Yeah, thank you for adding that. We promised our guests and the audience to look a little bit, at least for a couple of minutes, on healthcare, health tech in the wider sense. So maybe that's a useful one to finish on. We're keeping half an eye on the clock. And if just before we do that, for those of you here, I know that you're already thinking about some searching questions to pose to the panelists, so please keep those ready. Hopefully we'll have time for one or two questions from the floor. I know that some of you already have some in mind, so be prepared for that. Thinking about these issues around innovation, and we've had some really good examples. Obviously, particularly following the end of the restrictions brought about by the COVID pandemic, it's really brought about a very strong focus, I think, on digital transformation. We talked about how technology, how AI can boost efficiency and monitoring and all of those things in different sectors, but specifically in healthcare, across areas that can span from diagnostics, personalized healthcare. We have aging populations here, as we do in many other parts of the world, but the opportunities for investment, including co-investments, it could be on physical facilities, it could be on real estate, but it could also be in these other AI-related solutions. So just to put Dennis a little bit on the spot, is there anything that you've seen in your experience that does touch on healthcare in particular? Or if not, do you think there's any use cases that you've seen that could be highly applicable?
So obviously, like if you think about the general and the global landscape, I've seen like various startups like trying to do different things. I think, like if you think about AI in general and sort of applying AI and monetizing AI, I think it's really important to start from the end and write your success story basically before you even start, because like what can AI do for you? And there are I think like 10 things you can do. Like it's prediction, optimization, analysis, like insights. But I think like one of the most important things I've seen like in the US is basically human augmentation. I think the statistics is like that like 65% of current jobs will be augmented by 2030, which means not replaced, but AI will be used for smaller tasks and like for streamlining like sort of really lengthy processes and so on. In here, maybe it's just because, in the UAE, maybe just because it's my specificity is data. I have talked to big companies who struggle to combine the data coming from different devices like in healthcare. So like there is a big wish and a big vision to have one place for all healthcare related issues from the patient side. And obviously that's an issue because there are different devices, like the competition is fierce, like the watches you wear, the different sort of devices you use for measuring the heart rate and all that. So putting them together and having one image is not just good for basically the healthcare industry itself, but also it lays the foundation for future AI. But the other side of this, I've mentored like a lot of startups in Europe, specifically in Paris, in Berlin, on sustainability and healthcare. And I think the biggest killer of any innovation is regulation. And I think this is why the UAE is so well positioned, because the gap between the entrepreneurs and the government is not that huge. You can find people to talk to, you can find people to deliver feedback to, and people like myself, who are entrepreneurs, not there yet, like integration of Musk and Trump, of Trump and Musk being there and so on, but people who are still trying to build big products, but are sort of encountering issues. If you ask any entrepreneur, like at my stage, they'll always tell you like immediately what the problem is. So I think the UAE like sort of is working towards that goal, having the ministers of AI, the chief AI officers, and having this inclusivity for the entrepreneurs and investors that come here, I think is going to solve this problem. But definitely, I'm seeing data thing, and in the US is definitely human augmentation.
No, thank you very much. And Salim, maybe if you did have anything to say on the development, I suppose, of public services in particular, and obviously that has to touch on healthcare, but are there any particularly interesting areas that you've seen where government is leading on efficiency, on data, but specifically to healthcare?
Well, I can think of a recent bold decision that has been taken in the government to zero bureaucracy.
That sounds great.
And the very first nice thing about it is that to admit that you have bureaucracy. And this has been done not only in health sector, but in all sectors. But if we talk about the impact of this on the health sector, you would imagine having a full integration between all the health providers, government or private, to have a unified repository for every single information that you have. And this is linked with insurance companies, so to make sure that you don't get the same antibiotic from multiple doctors prescribed to you in the allowed time. So we are not talking commercial, we are talking health.
Yeah.
Because when you have all of these data, when you process it, okay, you get these results. Now, how would zero bureaucracy affect on this? I remember days or before this, there was a resistance. It's my data, he's my patient, it's data privacy, it's patient privacy. We cannot share this data, we cannot integrate. But with putting certain rules, certain initiatives and mandates, making sure that you also incentivize those who did very good in zeroing their bureaucracy, you make sure that people follow through, they will implement. So this is an example out of many where such a government-wide policy and initiative drives innovation, simplicity on public services. And we give an example of how does it impact health as well.
No, well, thank you very much. I think we're almost out of time. We're about to reward our guests here with lunch, and we have a series of discussions over lunch of a more, I'd suppose, informal nature. So we're looking forward to those as well. So I'd like to thank our panelists today for giving up their time, sharing their insights, sharing their expertise. I think one of the things that I took away is that when we're talking about Sharjah across different sectors, public and private as well, the phrase "the first" has come up a lot. And you could argue that, of course, in technology and in fast-paced innovation, that would be the case. But it seems to me that Sharjah and Sharjah's role in the wider UAE economy, being the first, is something that has come up a lot today. So that's certainly something. And we'll look forward to future editions, whether it's next year or in 2 or 3 years' time, where you can sit there on stage, Salim, and tell us that yes, we are now the first, as you foresaw in 2025. So we're looking forward to that. But please, a round of applause, please, for the panelists. So I think that closes the first session. We've caught up on a little bit of time. We did have a networking break in between, but what we could do is perhaps take a relatively short break, and then we'll reconvene. We'll give the hosts time to arrange the tables a bit, and then we have our program so we can more or less stick to our original schedule, where we'll have a couple of speakers over lunch. We have a charitable foundation, the Big Heart Foundation, established here in Sharjah, so we're really very much looking forward to that. This is the link between education and future generations, which is very much our ethos at SWIFI. This is what we feel, the investors, the families, the sovereign funds, very much looking to the future, and that's exactly what we're talking about today. So we're really looking forward to hearing from our colleagues at the Big Heart Foundation over lunch. And then, if that wasn't enough, we have a visitor who's come from the UK, Sir Brandon Lewis, and we're going to have a fireside chat talk around this Good Fellows initiative, and we'll hear more about the Good Fellows in due course. So perhaps if we could take a relatively short break, and then don't go away, don't go too far, have a look round. There's a traditional majlis just on the side here, no food and drink, but it's a wonderful space that even mirrors the view that we have of partnerships, connectivity, coming to develop these relationships. So please do use that, as well as the refreshments as well. And we will reconvene very shortly for lunch. Thank you very much.